Let's get ready to worship. You know, worship is not only a calling, it's an activity. It is when we surrender our will in exchange for Him. And in a moment, we're going to be joined together with men and women from all across the country. Our worship experience is about to start. And I want you to think about the word renew as you think about worship. I want you to think about reduce. The R is for reduce. So just reduce your fears. The E is for eliminate. Let go of things that don't matter. The N is for nourish. Get ready. Worship helps us to get ready for the Word of God. The second E in renew is for energize. Bring enthusiasm into the worship experience. And the W in renew is for wellness. God is going to touch your life. Just let Him do what He wants to do. It's going to be a great experience. Get ready.
Welcome to the Unveiling Part 4. My name is Minister Barbette, and I'm the CED Director at Truth Revealed International Ministries.
I'm Mr. Mike.
We've been working with young people now for over 35 years. However, this one's for the parents.
With this segment of the Unveiling, we want to focus on rekindling the bond. We want to attempt to answer this simple question. What can we do to make the relationship between parent and child desirable?
Relationships between a parent and a child are undeniable by birth, but from birth and as time progresses, that relationship will either grow stronger or become estranged. We want to discuss and discover how parents can improve on their relationships with their children.
The facts are young people are depressed, suffering with anxiety, strung out on drugs, and committing suicide, and so much more. So the question is why? Where are we missing it? What can we do as parents to help eliminate these situations?
Well, on tonight, you'll hear firsthand from young people of all cultures who will share from their own experiences some ways that they feel can improve a relationship with a parent.
Young people who have been bullied or are currently depressed, teens that have felt left out and truly understand the pain of being alone. The Unveiling Part 4, Rekindle the Bond, definitely not one to be missed.
Listen to this impactful poem or spoken word expressed by Tony and Brian. Then immediately following will be none other than the voice of Pastor Dave and our panel discussion.
Am I really who they say I am? Lost without a prayer? You know, I'm really trying to make you proud, but you never seem to be there. Every day I sit and I wait for you just to notice me. But every day, and it never fails, you tell me you're too busy. Your Facebook page, your Instagram, your job, your church, your dating. Everything you got, you give to strangers while I'm fading. My hope is gone, and I'm losing steam. Feels like I don't exist. I've been thinking who would miss me if I opened up my wrist. You yell at me because I'm in the way of things you want to do. That's really kind of selfish, you know. I've got feelings too. You're going to do what I say. This is my house and my rules. But I'm wondering, can't you see that all I'm trying to be is you? I'm never going to do what you tell me, but I'll do what I see. Teachers teach by example. They show me how to lead. I know you care, but do you care enough to make these changes we need? I'm crying out, can you hear me now, while I internally bleed? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Who Am I by Tony and Brian. Wasn't that awesome? That really spoke a word to me. A lot of times people don't understand how depressed children can get. And the contents of that spoken word, I think, really speaks to the heart of that. So that was awesome. Welcome. My name is Pastor Dave, and this is the Unveiling Part 4, where we want to rekindle the bond. And really, the unveiling is just about showcasing the love of God. We want to make sure that people everywhere know that they are loved, they're not forgotten. And when we unveil God's love, we want to exchange beauty for ashes. We want to share some of the ashes that we've been through, and hopefully from our ashes, you can get beauty. All right, so on stage today with this topic we got called Rekindle the Bond of What a Child and a Parent is Supposed to Be. And for those of you watching, you might say, well, what if we already have a bond? All bonds can be stronger. That's just how I feel about it. And I'm so excited. Today I have my wife with me, Miss Nadine. Say something to the people.
Hey, everybody.
All right, that's probably all you're going to get for now. But I'm so excited that Miss Nadine is here with me. And even more than that, I am home We've done this program several places before, but today I'm at Truth Reveal, and here we have some family with us. Put your hands together and check out the crew that we have on stage. We have teenagers on stage with us today, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you guys from their point of view, how we can rekindle the bond. I'm so excited. Let's jump right into this. And listen, if you're there watching wherever you are, you might want to get somebody who you know is having a hard time connecting with their young people, or just for whatever reason. And young people will really want to watch this as well, because today we want to give some insights on how parents can connect with their young people. The question that we're going to be answering today is, how can we make the relationship between parent and child desirable? So without further ado, I'm just going to ask this question, and anybody on the platform at any given time can jump right in. And please, if you would, give your name, your age, and then answer the question. The first question we want to address is, what is the greatest cause for disconnect between a parent and a child? We want to know what causes parents and children to disconnect. Who want to take it? Oh, we got somebody up front. All right. Give them your name and let's go.
All right, hey everyone. My name is Justin. My age is 19. I think the greatest cause that causes that between a parent and a child is miscommunication. You know, I think that if there's a certain level where parents and kids get a point of communication and comprehension, then I think it'll be the beginning stages to fixing that bond.
Wow, communication, that's powerful. Anybody else want to share?
And my name is JR. I'm 16. I think the number one cause of distance between the parent and the child is distance itself. Because, you know, when parents and children have too much distance, you know, they don't talk as much as they should. I think that it causes the child to stray away, maybe even rebel. So yeah, that's what I think the number one cause is.
Man, so far there's two powerful words that I've picked up on. One of them is communication, or the lack thereof. And the second word is distance. Woo! We're going to definitely talk about that. But before I start preaching or anything like that, anybody else got anything they want to add to that?
My name is Tylen. I'm 14. I wanted to add on what JR had to say, distance. Some parents might be in the military, so they're not able to see their kids as much in person. So that might be another reason why the relationship might be getting worse than better, because they're not able to see their kids as much.
That's good. That's good. In the back.
Yes, so I like to add to that by saying, I think the biggest thing where that comes in is lack of attention between the parent and the child. So when the child's not getting that attention that they need, I think that's where the child may begin to kind of distance. It kind of, same thing, coincide with each other.
Okay, so you're saying there might be some drifting taking place.
Definitely.
Wonderful. What's your name and how old are you?
I'm Genesis, and I'm 20 years old.
All right, Genesis 20. Did you say somebody on the front over here? Is there another person? Go ahead. Tell us what you feel.
Okay, my name is Tori, and I'm 28 years old. I would say influence.
Oh, wow.
I say influence because a lot of the times as we come up as teenagers or preteens, we're influenced by those that are around us. So whether that's music, whether that's friends, and if you have a friend who's not cool with their parents or the music you listen to goes that way, a lot of times influence can play a part into it as well.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Anybody else in the front?
I'm Lexi. I'm 22. I would say the number one thing that causes distance from like my experience was like lack of knowing your kid. It's like if you don't know their love language, it's hard to connect with them, and so that causes a distance and a bond because you are at one level and they're at a different level as you are. So it's like it's a big like error like in the middle. There's nothing like there to balance the bridge.
Wow, you said lack of knowing your kids. How can a parent not know their kids? Like, I don't understand how I can be a parent and not know my kids. I'm married to this young lady, and I feel like I know her, and I feel like she knows me. So what are some of the obstacles that comes up? I mean, he said military. That was dope, and I get it, you know, responsibility. But what are some of the obstacles, Lexi, that you think are blocking parents from being able to really get to know their kid? And also on top of that, how can you tell when you know your kid?
I would say, again, from my experience, it was a lack of like maturity in a way. It was more they were focused on themselves and what they were wanting. So I had a relationship with my dad, so that's where it's all coming from. I have 4 siblings, I have 4 sisters, and he just left. He was focusing on himself and his situation and what he wanted. He wanted to better himself and not better his kids. So it was more of it was a balance because like I'm a person who likes words of affirmation and stuff like that, and like I feel loved when it's like when they're talking to me or they acknowledge something that I did, and he couldn't see past himself and like his goals and what he wanted in life. It was always about him and bettering himself. It didn't matter about like the family, I guess, portion of things. So
Wow, that's good. That's good. Remember, we're talking about things that causes disconnect. And we've heard communications, we've heard distance, we've heard not being able to know your children. And I think everything that we're talking about are somewhat related. Is there anybody else that hasn't shared yet that might want to say something along the lines of what we're discussing right now? Yes, sir.
I also wanted to say a lot of the times when kids distance themselves from their parents is because of friends. They're influenced by their friends to do the wrong things, and that causes them to stray away and do whatever they want to do. And then, they're not in their parents' lives, so they basically want to do what they want to do because they're influenced by other people to do what they want to do, drink, smoke, do what they want to do, instead of following their parents' guidelines.
Wow, that's good. Anybody else?
I just wanted to ask a question on that, because as a parent, I hear him, but how do I resolve that? How do I, and I don't know if I'm asking you guys because I want to know, how would I connect with you, to my connection to be stronger than your friendship connection, that influence that's pulling you?
I like to add to that, and I like to say by finding out different interests with the child and the parent, finding out what you like, what you dislike, going different places and figuring out what activities that you guys can both do to really rekindle the bond and really get to know each other. Like I said, it's all about getting to know each other, getting to know your strengths, your weaknesses. So, and as the child gets older, whether they're a teen or young child, I think that those activities in this new age, like social media and all that, I think having a social media platform and maybe like doing TikToks and Instagram and Snapchat, doing different activities that's out of the norm, maybe out of your comfort zone. So,
like what she said, as far as it's basically spending time. And I think a lot of the times when something is broken, the foundation has to be rebuilt. Wow. So you have to take that time out to, at the end of the day, we kids. I have a 6-year-old. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're coming with me. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Wow. So you have to listen to me and what I'm saying, and we're going to rebuild this foundation if something is broken, and we're going to take that time. And I think a lot of the times it is time that takes us away from our kids. When I think about me and what I have going on, I'm in school, I'm doing this, I work, my baby needs time. So we have to think about spending time with our children. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Can I just ask you guys, from your point of view, by the way, hello, Mello. Just want to say my son has graciously agreed to be a part of this panel on his birthday. So happy birthday to you. And being the son of a pastor, he probably will give you some insight on what that is like as well. Yes, sir.
I had something to add on to the question that my dearest mother had. One thing that helped me from her is she created like a track list. Like when I would say something about my friends, oh, my friend said this and this, and she would say, well, from my knowledge now, oh, I know that type, so I'm gonna say this. And in the future, seeing that she was correct made me trust her more. So having a checklist in my own head growing up, be like, oh, she was right about this, she was right about this, maybe she might know something. Like that helps me trust her more and then builds the relationship.
Okay, now I'm hurt though. I'm for real hurt. Like I'm for real. I'm so hurt it's not even funny. This joker said from his mother. But he did say a checklist. Now that's powerful.
I was smart.
No, you wasn't smart. You was gleaning from me.
Oh, well, of course.
A checklist. And you know, Jesus says, these things I tell you in advance, so when it happens, you know I'm not lying to you. My son had a checklist, and he said, well, that was true. That girl really did have a big head, and this one really was a good friend, and that one really wasn't. So I'm just proud of you, man. I just want to say I'm really godly proud of what you have become. I know all the choices you had growing up that you could have made. One of the stories that he told us at a sleepover one time, which blew my mind, if it wasn't for the grace of God, even as a pastor, we could have lost our son. And one of the things, parents, this is for you. One of the things that God told me is, while I'm so busy chasing other people's kids, I could have lost mine. And the topic that we're talking about, he shared a story with us that he could have joined a gang. I never heard this before, except we created space in our busy schedules at a sleepover for him to share that with me. And we're talking about quality time right now. And I just wanted to say something, that there is a difference, and I want you guys to talk to this as well, between quality time and time. There is a difference, and how can we tell from you guys sharing insight with us, when does it feel like, man, I've got quality time from my parents right now, or when does it feel like they're just trying to fit me in? What is the difference? How can you tell? Parents, please pay attention. Your children can tell when you're giving them quality time or when you're just trying to fit them into your own agenda. Now I want you to hear from them how they feel and how they can tell if the time is genuine quality or not. Anybody want to share on that? Okay.
Hi, my name is Kim. I'm 21 years old. From experience, I have a close relationship with my mom, and when we spend time together, we generally make a connection. We feel we love each other very much, and we just enjoy it. When it feels like she is pushing, it's somewhat bothersome. But again, it's the quality time with your mom. You don't know when like it's gonna end, because with parents, they're older, they're wiser, and the advice they give you is important. And again, you never know when God's gonna say, hey, it's time for someone in your life to go.
My God. Yes, sir.
This isn't my own personal experience, but I know a friend. His dad, like I was saying, in the military, but he had to work, and he used to go to work, and he used to just take him to lunch, and that was it, and then he'll go back to work. But that's the thing. You're not spending time with him. You're not asking him how his day was. You're just taking him out to lunch and then taking him back home and then going back to work. So he's not really able to see you as much because you're not spending time with him. You're just going, taking him, okay, I got to take, Tyler or whatever to lunch so that I can go back to work. So that's what parents think that's just enough, but that's not enough.
Wow. I think that's powerful. I think I saw a hand over here. All right, so we'll go to this young man and then come to the front.
A lot of parents think that their children don't see things, but kids definitely do see things. A way that you can tell that a parent is kind of forcing time to be with their kids. You can see it in their expressions. You can see it in the way that they move, the way that they talk to you. Like Tyler said, sometimes, like an instance, a father would pick up his son from school, go do something with him, then go straight back to work. Say in that time frame that he's doing something with his son, he's not really there. He's there, but his mindset isn't there. He's thinking about, I have to go do something. I have to go to work after this. If you as a parent, if you weren't forcing that time to be with your child, you would be more there mentally, more there emotionally as well. Because your kids definitely do see things. I see things. I'm sure everybody on this panel sees things. So yeah.
Awesome. Yes, sir.
So, from my perspective and for the online audience, I think that the main issue revolves around like effort. That's how parents, like, if you're wondering how you can tell the difference between genuine quality time and ungenuine quality time, it basically revolves around effort. I mean, if you show your kid that you want to spend time with them and that you want to do these things to better your relationship, then I think that'll definitely show them that you care, and that will grow the love and it will grow their respect for you even more, so you guys can be stronger.
As everybody is sharing, I want you to pull out keywords that they're saying, like effort and influence and communication. They're saying a lot. And remember, we're only doing this so that we can benefit those who are willing to say, I don't know everything. What we're doing right now with this unveiling and showcasing the love of God, not everybody's going to tune in. And then not everybody's going to say, I need that. Some of you that are watching and say, I don't need that. But I'm a parent willing enough to say, I don't know everything. And I would have lost my son and my beautiful daughter if I wasn't willing to allow ourselves to learn from the kids that God gave us to shepherd. And I'm so thankful to the shepherd of this house, Bishop Clark, that trusted us, and the parents that allowed us to speak into their kids' lives, because as we blessed them, they were blessing us. Is there anything that you wanted to say?
I'll say that I was definitely, still am, guilty of letting time snatch me, because Jasmine or Ramel, they'll talk to me, and they know when I'm not listening. Jasmine's very outspoken, so she'll be like, it's okay, I'll talk to you later, because I know you're not listening to me. I'm like, ooh, stop me in my tracks, okay. So, and then when I do listen, I notice I get a wealth of information from her, and then I'm able to enter her world and, direct or instruct from there. Wow. So, I thought it was really powerful that you said that time snatchers really pull us away.
Time snatchers. Not only that, I'm guilty of that as well. And let's talk about the feeling that you feel when your child says, you're not listening, fine, I'll come back to you. Let me tell you, any adult that is watching this, you know what that feels like. When your child says, it's okay, Mom, it's okay, Dad, I know you're not listening, I'll come back. You're like, no! No! And you might have just lost that child. Now I see hands popping up everywhere, so please don't forget your thought, and Mello, don't forget your thought. Let's go to Kimberly, and then we're gonna go Mello, and then, all right.
So, like, when time slips away, I feel like some family, they eventually make a schedule for time to spend with their kids, their family and everything. When eventually, like, for me, Friday, I spend time with my mom. I watch soap opera with her and everything. We hang out in the living room because my mom can't go anywhere. She's stuck in the house 24/7. And eventually, she's going to get tired of just being in the house and want to get out. So it's good to spend time with parents. It's not just, it's the parents that need to hang out with the kids. To me, it's more like the kids need to hang out with the parents to understand so they know you more better. And scheduling family time, scheduling is the most important thing, because, hey, you might not have time to do this throughout the whole week. There may be just one day of the week or 2 days out of the week. And what I realized on Sundays is the only time I sit down to eat with my family. And that's the most important thing, because, hey, I get to tell them what I learned from Bishop, what I learned from God, and everything. And especially, you get to learn what your parents' point of view is, and they learn what your point of view is.
That's so good. Remember, the topic today is making the relationship between parent and child desirable. And you just heard Kimberly say the child should also want to spend time with the parent. But what is it that we can do to make the child say, Mom, can you just, to make them not say, can you drop me off at the corner over here? And then you walk over to your friends. How my kids, I don't know what it is, and please don't forget, I'm not gonna go too far. Our kids want to hang out with us. They want to go bowling. What are we doing today? Today, right after this, I thank God I have been invited to hang out with my son for his birthday. We're going out. We're gonna hang out with him. We're gonna be friends. It's crazy. Yes. We're gonna party. We're gonna go to the club. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going that far. But we're gonna do some things together as a family. And she said dinner table. That's powerful. We can talk about the dinner table, a lost art. Nobody eats at the dinner table anymore. They're all in their rooms playing Nintendo, whatever. Nobody plays Nintendo. PS5, you know what I'm saying? But let me jump over to Mello, and then we're gonna come to Tori. Yes, sir, Mr. Dave.
Hello, I'm Mello. I'm 26. I didn't do that the first time. But like my mans in the Nikes said, you really, as a child, you pick up on a lot of things. So like, for my father, I did my mother first time, I'll do you now. For my father, he's really good at communication, like really, really good. I don't know if you can tell. But when someone's talking to him and he doesn't want nothing to do with the conversation,
Oh, no.
you'll hear,
No, don't do it. Don't
that's
do it.
crazy. And after the third time, I look at the dude who's talking to my dad and I'm like, you can't tell? Like, he don't care. So, but the opposite is also true. When he's talking to me, I know if he says at one time, I'm losing him. But, like I said, the opposite is true. When he's talking to me and he starts to repeat things over and over, side note, I hate repetition a lot. But I know when repetition comes out of his mouth, it's out of passion. And just like how Christ speaks in the Bible, he sometimes starts a sentence with, verily I say unto you. Jesus, you ain't got to say that. Just tell me what you got to say. Yeah. But he has something important to say, so he's giving you a heads up. And that's what I draw from how he talks to me.
Well said.
Who raised that kid? No. Both of us, sit down.
Like I said, I won't add, I won't take away. He's well-spoken. You heard what he had to say. That's powerful. But I do that a lot. That's crazy. Are you serious? Nah. For real? Stop. I don't know what you're saying. Thank you so much. Let's jump on over to Miss Tori.
So two things I want to
ma'am.
touch on. When you were talking about time snatchers and how it makes you feel when your child is just like, all right, I'll come back. My 6-year-old. She was like, am I annoying you? It took everything in me, and I felt so bad because I do realize a lot of the time my attention is taken away, and we have to be mindful in how we speak to them and how we react to them because, like you said, kids pay attention to everything. So when you were talking about how can you build that relationship, and I think it starts by listening to them when they say, hey, Mom, can we go for a walk? Literally, that's all she asked me. Can we go for a walk today? And if you take that time to say, all right, baby, let's go for a walk, 5 minutes, and that goes back to what you were saying as far as effort goes. Yeah. And 5 minutes sitting down and having that conversation or talking while you guys are walking and not letting her go off by herself or doing what she wants, not being in my phone or listening to music while we're walking, 5 minutes literally can build quality time. So you have to be mindful of that, and I do think that that will help in the future. Hey, Mom, can we hang out today? Because, like, I try and be around my daddy all the time, just for the simple fact he takes that time. 5 minutes, you listen to me, you interact with me. You know what I'm saying? So it is about effort and just taking that time to be in the space that you're in at that present moment.
I think if there's a parent watching, this would be a good time to take notes if you haven't already started. What they're saying is 5 minutes of quality time is more desirable than an hour of distracted time. Listen to what I'm saying to you. You can impact the life of your child in 5 minutes of uninterrupted time more than you can do with 60 minutes of nothing. Distracted time. You're not listening to me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick up my iPhone and get on pornography. Just telling you like it is. I know everybody on here has so much more, and I want to hear a little bit more from Genesis, right? And I also want to hear, Lexi, I'm a black man. I don't know if they can see that.
She's like, yeah.
You are of the Caucasian race. Is what we're saying only a black culture thing, or do you see the same things happening on your side? And for those of you that are out there that might be Hispanic or Asian, do you see, is this a worldwide situation, or is it just me?
No, it happens everywhere. I was actually going to chime in. Like the setting aside time and stuff. Like quality time is important. It's not about the quantity of your time with the kids or anything like that. It's about the quality time. But I would say a hard thing would be like making it a routine to do it. Not so making it as like, so setting aside the time, but not making it a routine. So like, I know that if my mom's like, well, I have to spend this time with you, this is scheduled time, it's not gonna seem as important because it's gonna be like, I know she set that side, like that time aside, but it's like, she has other things to do after. It's like, oh, I have 5 minutes, here you go, like this is it. So it's more like making a routine of making sure that your time is well spent and it's one-on-one and it's personal. So it's not just like, oh, I have 5 minutes real quick, you can talk or anything like that. It's more like, I think it's just like, it's not the quantity of the time. It doesn't matter if it's like an hour, like what you were saying. It's not like I need a full hour. It's just like, honestly, like I could take 3 minutes and I don't care. Like I will feel loved and it's okay, so.
Powerful. No hourglass. No. My gosh, I've always said, and Miss Nadine has always said, we've said this together, ministry is just creating space in your busy schedule for those that God loves. That's what ministry is. You just spend time with people. Genesis, is there? Yeah.
Of course, and I think, again, time is precious, time is valuable. It's important that we as teens, young adults, all make the effort, not just the parent, but the child too, make the effort to really spend time, whether it's going to Universal, whether it's going bowling, skating, whatever it is. Despite the pandemic, you can do many things inside, movies, anything. So I think sometimes it can be excuses and many reasons as to why the relationship is not there.
I love it. And speaking of the pandemic, I'm going to come back to you, Tyler. I'm grateful for the pandemic. Parents, remember, if you don't spend time with your child, somebody else will.
Say it again.
Somebody else is going to spend time with your child. Time is going to get spent with your child. Is it going to be, my Lord, is it going to be someone who is of influence of a positive nature, or is it going to be somebody who is of an older age and teaching your children about sex and violence and drugs, whispering in their ear through music or through the television? Tell a vision. Somebody's going to tell your child a vision. Oh yeah, somebody's going to spend time with your child. So just keep that in mind. It's just, I'm coming back to you, Tyler, but I got goosebumps and I'm so, this is good stuff. You don't even have to pay for this. All you got to do is tune in and share it with somebody. These kids are sharing their experiences with you. You're talking about you want to really reconnect with your child. The common denominator that you're hearing here is time. Not like, okay, hold on, say that again. What did you say? I'm talking about put that down, flip it face side up, put it on airplane mode, and spend time. Yes, sir.
When Genesis was talking about effort, I'll have an example with me and my mom. You know, I put in 50%, my mom puts in 50%. It's 100% equally. You know, I have a great bond with my mom. I talk to her every day. Every day. I don't talk to her about everything, but I talk to her every day. I go in her room, I say, Mom, I gotta talk to you about this. But I think it's just the parent and the child both have to put in that effort. 50-50, 100% equal percent.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Tyler, if I could follow up with that, I would honestly say also like it makes the kids feel this sort of isolation. And it's like when they realize the parents isn't like when they realize the parent isn't listening to them, it makes them kind of pull back and stay secluded and stay to themselves. And like what PD was also saying, that's where they need attention, and then that's where things like pornography or something like that can like come into play. And to like keep their mind on that, but what that does is that it mentally drains them, and it causes them to feel mentally down themselves. So, you just gotta really watch out for that, parents out there. And I think that if you just spend more time with them and stuff, you'll see that, a lot of things can change.
We've got just a few more minutes before we jump out of this segment, but I want to go to JR one more time. Yes, sir.
I want to briefly add to what Tylen was saying. He said that it's a 50-50 effort. And I know this segment is for the parents, but kids, we also have to put in that effort, like Tylen said, what Kim said. You can't go up to your room, play your game 24/7, or do whatever you're doing while your parents downstairs trying to talk to you, have a real life conversation with you. Then you get on FaceTime later and say, "Oh, my mom doesn't understand me." Your parent would have understood you if you had, sat down, listened to your parent. So I think, like what Kim said, what Tylen said, also has a lot to do with the kids, with us, and how we present ourselves to our parents. So yeah.
Powerful. Yes, Lexi.
I just have one more thing to add, because like clearly it's busy, like life is busy, and it's not always a parent's fault. Like they have stuff to do, they do have work all the time and stuff like that. Like it's not always their fault, but something that like can be fixed with that. My mom, so she was a stay-at-home mom, and then she had to get a full-time job and stuff. So she has never missed one of my phone calls. Like it doesn't matter. Like if I call her, she's gonna pick up, and she's always just like, "Hey, I'm at work right now. I'm busy. I just wanted to hear your voice. Can we talk later?" So it's just like those little things. Like even if you are busy, and it's like your kid wants to come and talk to you, but you can just be like, "Hey, I want to listen to you. I'm a little busy right now. Can we do it later?" So you can it changes your mindset, and that it's like you're still heard. So it's like they still feel loved, and they still like, yeah, you want to listen. So
I hear the word affirmation there. Affirmation. And I want to bring balance to that term busy, being under Satan's yoke. You must balance that thing out. We are going to make time for the things that are important to us. So don't always I know listen, we're busy. But as parents and as stewards over the things that God has given us, we must do time management. And with the proper time management, busy won't always get us. Two more quick statements, and then we're going to jump out of this segment. Yes, ma'am.
And might I add on to that by saying that I think it's important that we develop the relationship while the kid is very young, so that way they have that connection and bond while they're young, because as they get a little bit older, they may tend to kind of disconnect, teenagers and all that. So for me, like one of my favorite hobbies is baking. So I think for me and my mom, we've always kind of had that being in the kitchen type bond, being together. So that's kind of like our bond. And then, for example, my dad, we like watching movies, we like going on trips. And on weekends when we get the time, we take full accountability. We take full accountability, and we make sure that time is spent well.
Tyler?
I wanted to add on to what Lexi had said. She had talked about missing her phone calls, and that's something that I think a lot of parents feel like mad about, is when they miss this, when they miss that, when they miss this concert, when they miss this soccer game. From my own experience, I know my parents have always been to my events, my soccer games, my things, but there's always a good side. If you miss this concert, you can always go to this concert and cheer on your child even more than you would have done if you weren't there. So I think like I was saying before, it's a 50-50 effort. Some parents, feel angry or mad, when they don't get to spend as much time, like we were saying about work and stuff like that. They feel angry that they're not able to spend time with their child.
I'll just add this. So when we got married, we made the agreement that family is first, no matter what. So we decided we're going to work off of one income, and he worked, and I stayed home with the kids for about 13 years. For me, as a parent, I'll say it was really hard because I saw my friends graduate from college, because I had them when I was 22. I didn't finish college. I saw them graduate from college, got their career, they were vacationing, doing all this stuff. I was like, whew, this is serious. Like, this is a sacrifice. Like, I had to put myself aside because I decided to have these kids at this age. So But then later on, I look at them, 22 and 26, I'm like, we did a good job. Thank God I stayed home, But I would say to parents, even if you're a single mom, you have to figure out that Lexus is not that important, that, the bigger house is not important. It's okay to live off of ramen noodles and make believe it's some lao mein, and those are things that we had to do. We weren't that luxurious couple that just had it all together. We struggled through to make sure they were taken care of first. And I think being youth pastors for so long, it taught us so much, so many valuable tools that we were able to learn to be able to give back to them. And especially, I'll say this one that I always tell everyone, the most valuable tool that I learned was a parent clock. All her cell phones in her house went on the kitchen counter. And that made such a big difference for us, because if you got your phone in your bedroom, I don't know what you're doing. I need to know you sleeping and resting. So that, I think, just gathering tools and realizing that you don't have to live up to the Jones standards.
The Bible says to be in the world, but not of the world. And the ways of the world would make you think you need to go after things like others have. When our first ministry is God, our second ministry is our family. Then there's the ministry or church, and then there is work. But we want to go after everything. And here's what I want to say, and then we'll go into the segment of what's coming up. To be more like God is to become selfless. To be more like the world is to become selfish. And what I'm hearing through these kids is, parents, we need more selfless time with you. And that's just what I wanted to give you today. I can't wait for the second segment. And even now, I'm excited about what's getting ready to pop off. We're going to split this up. We've got a performance coming up right now for you from one of our very own. Listen, this young man loves God. And, this is what we do. We cultivate the youth. We want to see and we want to pour back into those that are doing things productive and positive. And so I want you to check out this performance by YPG Remy.
Yeah, I go by the name of YPG Remy, Young Praying Chain. Yeah, this song is called Blackout. Let's get it. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Ain't no matter what demons you face, God's got you. Don't black out. Let's go. Hey, blackout. Yeah. Demons, they want me to black out. I'm way too far, ain't coming back now. I'm way too high, ain't coming back down. Blackout. Yeah. Demons, they want me to black out. I'm way too far, ain't coming back now. I'm way too high, ain't coming back down. Hey. I keep to myself, I ain't flexing up no range. Switching up them cameras and didn't nothing change. Bad stop talking, you know you're not what you claim. Steady try to win, but I ain't playing no games. Are you mad cause you gon' see me in the hills? Are you mad cause you gon' see me popping pills? Are you mad cause I ain't racking up kills? Are you mad? Are you mad? Hey, y'all know I be talking to God. I talk to God. So I can't be texting no demons. Hey, these demons, they steady be creeping. Let's go. Hey, jump. Hey, I know they want me to black out. Hey, demons, they want me to black out. Yeah, I'm way too far, ain't coming back now. Hey, I'm way too high, ain't coming back down. Yeah, let's go. Hey, black out. Hey, demons, they want me to black out. Hey, I'm way too far, ain't coming back now. Yeah, I'm way too high, ain't coming back down. Ain't coming back down. Yeah. No matter what demons you face, no matter what you go through, God's got you. Don't black out. Yeah. Okay.
Man, that performance was off the chain. Yo, didn't you enjoy that? Well, welcome back again. My name is Pastor Dave. I'm here with my lovely wife, Miss Nadine. And I just want to say before we get into this, welcome to the Unveiling Part 4, where we're showcasing the love of God. YPG Remy. What does that stand for, bro?
That stands for Young Praying Gentlemen.
Did you say young praying gentleman?
Yes, sir. Gotta
Man,
pray
what you
day
praying
and night.
about?
all
What you
day.
what
I'm
you praying about?
Come on, BD. You know I pray about everything. I pray about my family. I
Okay.
pray about all of y'all. You know.
Put your hands together one more time, even those at home, for that young man who just killed it on stage, man. That was off the chain. That was off the chain. As you guys know, this is the Unveiling Part 4. My wife and I have done this at least 3 times now at other locations. And I'm just thrilled to be in our own home for this one at Truth Revealed International Ministries, where Bishop is the pastor, and we just love it here. We got some friends and family with us and some young people. Before we get into this second segment, we're going to do some audience participation this time. And I want to say this because if you were watching the first segment, you realize that the common denominator that really builds bond between parent and child is time. All right, and I want to read this verse out of Proverbs chapter 26. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 that says, "Train up a child in the way he or she should go, and when he or she is old, they will not depart from the training." But let me say this, that training requires time spent. It doesn't require a TV or a babysitter. It requires time spent. And I just want to applaud my wife for being obedient enough. I'm just kidding, y'all. We were in agreement that the best thing we could do for our kids is take the funds that we would have spent on childcare and daycare anyways and put that into the bills and allowed her to stay home and take care of our child. And God worked it out, and I'm extremely grateful. This next segment we're going to be moving into right now is really talking to the audience and allowing them to come up and share some thoughts and concerns with us. And before we do that, I just want to touch one more segment with one person that's sitting on the panel who is now coming up out of the youth group here, has a child of her own. And I just want to ask her, Tori, what are some of the things now that you have your child for yourself that you say, man, what Bishop said, what you were saying, PD, what the leaders around me were saying, my daddy said, now that I have my own child, dang it, they were telling the truth. What are some of the things that you being a parent, and tell us the age of your child, and what you've seen already, like, wow, they were right.
So I will say, first things first, the verse you just read has literally been on my mind this whole time. Wow. Train up with the child in the way that they should go, and they will not depart from me. My little one is 6 years old, and I will say time above anything. Influence is another thing I think about when I think of my child. And being the main person for them. Aside of me, it's her father. And you just have to be mindful because we are in a co-parenting relationship. So I have to be mindful of keeping her in church. That's first things first. And knowing that she knows who God is above all. So I will say those are some of the main things that I think about when I think of you guys and what you guys have taught me coming up and what Bishop has taught me coming up is you have to realize as a young girl, having a young girl, that having people who are solid around her, and it takes a village. I can't say I sit here by myself and I raise my child because I don't. I have a lot of help from a lot of people, a lot of my loved ones. So I will say they all spend time with her. I sit back and I watch, even Tony Ann spends time, Dave spends time with Zuri, and she's thankful and she's happy for that. So I'm thankful to have those people around me to impart or input, a solid foundation in her. So time.
It's going to hurt me more than it hurts you. Have you ever felt that? Or even if you've never said that, because if you're a parent, any parent knows when you have to discipline your child or you got to take something from them, you know that feeling. So is that a true statement?
It is. So for me, in this stage, I told my child, I do believe in spare the rod, spoil the child. However, the only time I do spank my child is when she lies to me. I will not tolerate lying. What I do, instead of putting my hands on her, I put her on the wall, squatted out. And dealing with her while she's on the wall and watching that agony, you know what I'm saying? Watching her go through it, but I need you to understand that when I say something, you need to move. Or when an adult tells you something, that's what needs to be done. So it does hurt me to have to do this to you, but I need for you to understand where I'm coming from, and I need for you to act in those instances.
Man, that's so powerful. And parents, I want you to know you're not killing your child. If you don't hurt them in love, somebody's going to hurt them in anger.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you got to discipline your child. Now, my son doesn't know this, but as she was talking, I'm reminded we are our children's hero. They look up to us, and they want to know, Daddy, you're my hero. Mommy, I just love you. They want to, our children will never do only what we say. They're going to always do what they see us doing. So when parents or people come to me and say, my child is so bad, I always tend to shed the light back on us. Well, what have we done to help curb that? And my son, when he was like 14, 15, he drew this picture, man. It really caused, he doesn't even know, but I'm coming to you next. He doesn't know how much this thing impacted me, where he drew this picture, one of his favorite characters, and don't tell his principals and his teacher, but I used to take him out of school on his birthday, and we used to go watch Iron Man every time. We used to just skip school. We're skipping school today, bumping. And we would take him out of school, and he had this picture that he drew of Iron Man, and it had claws coming out of his fist, and it said, my dad, my hero.
How'd you feel? Tell us about it.
I want to cry even now. But I still got the picture. He looked at me as his hero. And that means everything I do, he's going to mimic it. And I had to not just be a man of my word, I had to live out what I said I am. And that's a big response. Parents, your first responsibility is to your children. Yes, it's to honor God, but it's also to honor God in your relationships with your children. And so one of the things I want to do is I want to turn to my child, my son, my firstborn. He's married now. He doesn't have a child yet, but he has a dog. And I want to hear of some of the lessons he's learning that I had to do. One of the times that I had to spank him, I don't like lying either. And one time I whooped him so bad the paddle broke. We're older now. You can't call the cops on me now. It's done. You can't do that. And to see how much I whoop him and he didn't cry, didn't bother. But when the paddle broke, it was like he wasn't crying because of the pain. He was crying because of the pain he felt of disappointment. He was crying because of how he disappointed me. And I don't like lying. But son, what from our relationship, or what have you learned from how we've dealt with you in growing up, that you can see some similarities even with your wife and even with raising Max now? Because I know Max has been a learning lesson for you. What are some of the things that you can see even through the relationship with Max as your son that is very common to what we're talking about here?
So I'll say that I won't say fear, but I don't desire the disappointment because you were first in my eyes as a hero. So one of the first story, I just want to share a little story where we were at a skate park, and you probably remember this. I was on the little baby ramp, going back and forth, and someone says, "Move your little ass off the ramp," and I'm like, "Man, you don't know who you're talking to." He's like, "Get out of here." I was like, "I'm gonna get my dad on you." He's like, "Go get him." I was like, "All right." I'm pushing. It's like, "Dad, he messed with me." It's like, "All right, let's go." It's like, "Yeah, we on our way now." I'm going over there, and he's going back and forth. He sees me, and then he sees my dad, and then he just takes off. I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" So it's that same pride that where you have that feeling of reassurance where you know you messed up, and you don't want that feeling to leave. So when you mess up, and you know the guy that's always had your back is about to be upset with you, it's like, dang, I kind of just messed up. But so with Max, it's like you can really see when he wants love from me or from Tony Ann or from anyone, and he'll get aggressive with it. Like if I have my hand on my leg, he'll stuff his nose under it just to get my hand on his head. But when I come home and he's done something bad, as soon as I open the door, he comes up, he looks at me, and then he runs. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I get in the house, and he's already at his bed, just sitting there. I'm like, "You know, you can come say hi?" I'm like, "All right, chill out." I go investigate. I'm like, all right, the kitchen's still together. All right. Go in the bathroom, toilet paper's still on the roll. Go into my room, and my toothpaste is on the floor, chewed up and everything. I was like, this is what you're scared about. Okay. So literally the last 2 times he's done it, I literally just put it right there on the floor in front of him while he's laying down, and immediately he turns his head away from it. So I move it in front of him, and he immediately looks away from it again. I was like, so you know this. You know what you've done wrong. But the fact that every time when he doesn't do anything wrong, he's all over me as soon as I come home. It's that same disappointment matched with joy. And the fact that he gets joy from me, that's where the pain of the disappointment comes from.
Wow. Pick up the offering right now. The fact that he gets joy from me is where the same disappointment comes from. Parents, you got to understand, even after you discipline, you still have to affirm. You still have to let them know, yes, you broke the glass, but you're more important to me than the glass. You know, I'm reminded, and I'm going to get to the audience. We've got some time, and I'm reminded of this story. You probably don't know. I think I told you, and you'll remember, son. Bear with us, father-son moment in this segment. We were working, and we were cleaning up the yard of where my Pilates studio was on Malabar Road, and we were cutting shrubs, and in exchange for cutting these shrubs, some of our rent was reduced, and he came out and he was helping me rake up some things and cut shrubs and making the place look better. And the landlord was like, great, we'll cut your rent. So, and anyways, we got into a bee's nest, and a bee stung him. And he comes he's a grown man. He's almost 19. He runs, Dad, and he's running to me like a child. And I'm like, where that bee at? I'm gonna kill that bee. I'm gonna fight this whole beehive. Oh, wow. But he's running to me. Just like children of God run to God. Just like we should when we're afraid or something is stinging us or something is hurting us, we should have a parent that we can run to. But if you're absent fathers, who are they going to run to? And that just touched my heart. I didn't mean to go sob on y'all, but that broke my heart because I literally wanted to fight these bees. I was like, where they at? And so I just want whoever heard that to know your children need you. It's never too late to build a bridge. It's never too late to mend a bond. It's never too late to say, I'm sorry. It's never too late to create change. Before we bring up our first, we have a couple of people out here in the audience. This is great. It's so good to see you guys. We also have some people on internet asking questions live. If somebody would like to come up and share a comment or add to something, this is the time to start moving so that we can move to that. What are some of the signs parents can look for that would say the relationship is drifting?
I think you can tell by body language. I think body language would be one of the key indicators that, you know, that something's going on and stuff. Like if the parent comes around and the child's energy just kind of switches up, like goes from laughing, like in the middle of laughing, and it just goes to like that, kind of pulls away. I think that tells you right there when that parent comes around, there's some tension that needs to be resolved. So awesome. I think right there.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am.
When the kid isolates themselves.
Ooh.
They go to another room, they sit in the dark or do whatever they want in their own space. Just think. And personally, the bond that I have with my mom, it's greater than the one I have with my dad. And I wish he was there for my brother. My brother never grew up with a dad. And that bond needs to be there because even though we have a stepdad, we love him, we're happy that he's in our lives now, but that bond with a kid is the most important thing. My brother, we have a punching bag. We could tell that he's upset, he's isolating himself or something like that. So he goes out and punches the punching bag. And the reason is that people isolate themselves from situation is that sometimes they don't want to talk about it, or they just want to be left alone.
Right.
And when sometimes it's like a parent is pushing them, and the connection just falls apart. Because when you want from parents, the parents want from the kid so many times, like, oh, you need to find a job, you need to go to college, you need to do this and this. Being pestered about it constantly just makes the relationship fall apart. It will take the time to recognize that the kid has a plan, has a future in mind that they want to do, and they will slowly come back.
Let's turn it over, please. Your name, your age, and
My name is Brandon. I'm 22, and you guys have been talking a lot about quality time and how it's important to establishing that relationship with parents and kids. And so I had a personal question. It was actually Justin and JR at the beginning. I thought you guys both said something else profound about communication and distance, and how those two things can be causes of a gap. And so I feel that when there's that distance, communication bridges it. And so my question is, a lot of times there is communication there, and a lot of times there is closeness there. And so how can we make it so that the communication, when it's there, and the closeness when it's there, is meaningful, and what we're saying is speaking to someone's heart, and when we're there, present, we feel close. How can we do that?
Before I answer your direct question, I just want to say one thing. Distance, the two words distance is, not the two words, but the word distance is different from space. So, space is more of like the physical realm, and then distance is it's more of the emotional realm, in my opinion. But to answer your question, I think that, like Tori said earlier, communication is really the key to a relationship with the parent and the child. A kid could be sitting up in their room doing whatever, and they might have a problem. The parent might not always know that, because the child might always be distanced from their parent. So that's why, like Thailand said earlier, it's a 50-50 type thing. The child has to be kind of open. Sometimes a lot of kids aren't open. Like sometimes I know me, I don't always want to share everything, But I think that communication is a beautiful thing. If you think about it, communication is a really beautiful thing. If you take the time to sit and figure out what's wrong, I think that it can help a lot.
Definitely, bro. Brandon, for me, my take on it, I'll say that it takes a level of maturity to make the communication meaningful. It has to be the person wants to do that. They have to sit down with that other person and say okay, this is the problem that we have. What are we gonna do to fix it? What are we gonna do to make this better? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where the beginning stages start to that resolution. So definitely a level of maturity and just mindset.
I want to add to what they're talking about, because I think transparency is so important when it comes to relationship. And I'm gonna give me and my father for an example. We have a very open relationship, but there was a point, like JR said, well, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you everything. But once we opened up and we were able to be transparent with one another, and knowing that there is no judgment on both parts, because we're older now, so I'm gonna talk to us as teenagers and dealing with our parents when we're in our teen years. You have to feel comfortable, but your parents have to make you feel comfortable too. So it's not like a thing, or I'm gonna come and I'm gonna tell you something, Dad, and now you're gonna judge me behind it, or you're gonna throw it in my face. So transparency and non-judgmental, an atmosphere. You have to keep that atmosphere open. And I'm thankful now for the relationship I have with my dad, because there's nothing that I can't tell him, and there's nothing that will disappoint him, knowing who I am. So there can be closeness and you can be open, but is there transparency? and are you in a non-judgmental environment? So I think that's important to answer your question.
Real quick, I want to add to what Tori has said. I think there also has to be a sense of understanding between the child and the parent. You know, you can't expect the parent to know everything. Obviously, parents don't know every single thing. Kids don't know every single thing, you know. But your parents do know almost everything, almost. But you know, that understanding, that little piece of understanding, it will really help a lot because if I'm trying to help, so I'm speaking in, you know, future terms. Obviously, I don't have a kid. I'm 16, you know. But if my child was going through something, and say he was getting bad grades in school, and you know he's not happy about it, I'm not gonna sit here and judge him like Tori said. I have to sit down and say, okay, why is he getting these bad grades? There's something going on in school. Is he getting bullied? Does he just not understand it? Is he in the wrong school? So you know, that understanding really plays a huge part in that.
To add on to your question, I think a lot of parents don't tell their kids that they love them. And with communication, you know, how you're saying to make the conversation more meaningful, you have to tell your child you love them. You know, you can talk to them all day long, but one of the things that people always tell me is make sure you tell your parents that you love them at the end of your conversation, because that makes the conversation so much more meaningful.
Sounds like a lot of what you guys are saying has to do with something I also heard earlier. I think Lexi said it about love languages. And a lot of these responses sound like the things we say when we talk about what our personal love language is. And so, JR, you also made a good point. Sometimes we don't hear what speaks to someone's heart, and we don't see what makes someone feel close. And so my question for the rest of you guys on the stage is there any personal love languages or things that your friends, people you know, have and relate to that you would feel like help us in the audience hear those things that speak to people's heart and see what makes people feel close?
Lexi, if you want to maybe talk to that a little bit.
I can try.
Okay.
I would say that I think it's picking up on tendencies. I was speaking, because like I said I had 4 sisters, and we all have different love languages, and like mine is words of affirmation, and it takes time to know and learn each person's love language. It's part of the effort, like putting the time and the effort into knowing your kid. But it starts with like picking up tendencies. So like whenever I am starting to distance myself, which goes to what we were talking about, I just stop talking. Because it's like I am distancing myself, because that's how my like love language is words. And then like my sisters, like one of them, she goes off and she like exercises, like she does, or my other one, she likes to draw, and so she'll start drawing, because it's like little things like that. So picking up on tendencies and behaviors in the good and the bad situations help you understand somebody's love language. Because I could be loving somebody completely and being like, I love you, because I'm speaking words of affirmation to them, but if that's not their love language, they're not going to receive it like that. So you need to be aware and pick up the tendencies and habits of the people around you and those you want to love, if you want to be able to pick up on their love language and bridge the communication gap.
Girl, you didn't try, you killed it. That was dope. I mean, she talked about tendencies and behaviors, and some of the big things I'm hearing, especially that was shared over here, is isolation. You know, as a parent, it's your responsibilities to observe your child. You have to take time to observe your child. It's your job. If they start pulling away, our bishop says it all the time, Satan wants to isolate you so that he can assassinate you. And he wants you to pull off to the sides and be by yourself so you can be consumed by him. If I stand in the midst of this team and you're trying to get to me, you have a less chance of getting to me because these guys stand with me. But if I'm separated from the flock, I'm fair game. I can get. Great question, Brandon. Thank you so much. Genesis, did you?
Yeah, and I just want to say that a lot of times it has to do with strict parenting or lenient parenting. So it all depends on the parenting. if the parent is more strict or if the parent's more lenient, they may let the child get away with more things than not. So I think if the child becomes more isolated and more disconnected, it has to do with how you're parenting. If you don't talk a lot to them, then they might feel like, oh, you're not listening or something like that. So I think having that discipline in there is very important in getting the connection, the bond together.
Awesome. Remember, we're talking about rekindling the bond. You may feel like you already have a bond, but I'm telling you, it can be stronger. There are things you can do to strengthen that. Thank you so much, Brandon. I see we have another audience coming up. Please, if you would, share with us your name and your age, and let's hear it. That's great.
My name is Matt. I'm 22 years old, and I'm looking just to see if y'all can bounce some perspectives off this. I'll try to be as concise as possible. So pretty much it comes down to what I believe. A lot of y'all mentioned how you have to give your kid quality time, not just time. And I think that this has a huge effect on how you communicate with your child. Their world is this small, and yours, especially if your ego envelops you, can be this big. So in order for you to really connect with your child, I firmly believe you have to minimize all of that, turn off all your technology, and to jump into their world. Because when they're this tall, I know when I was that tall, all I thought about was pizza, cookies, and the simplest pleasures in life. But I think that actively spending time turning off your phone, and more importantly, finding a hobby or sport that they actually love to do. It doesn't really matter if you love to do it, it would help, but as long as you like it to a good extent, but as long as they love it and you jump into their world, that's the ultimate bonding experience. For example, my dad and I used to fish all the time, and that has made fishing every time for me after that extremely special, even if I'm alone. So I wonder what you guys think about all that.
I can touch on that just because I do have a 6-year-old, and you're absolutely right. My world is so vast, but hers is too, because she has technology as well. So I think for me, and just taking away and remembering that time is so important, we do have to shut off. We do have to say, sweetheart, we got to put this tablet down. Let's go out and let's go have ice cream, or let's go have, I like Italian ice and so does she. So we go have Italian ice, or we have like picnics out in the yard sometimes when we lived in our apartment. We haven't done that recently. But you are absolutely right, is shutting off and having that one-on-one. And what I have realized is when I do sit and I have one-on-one conversations or just involve myself in her world, she opens up so much more. And it's amazing what a 6-year-old can tell you. Oh my God.
Yes, sir.
So man, first of all, great question. I'm gonna say that like taking social media breaks, like this is just my input, but like taking social media breaks and stuff is like a great way to reconnect with family members. Because I remember last year when the pandemic like first happened, like and I had to finish up my writing class. It was a research paper, and I wrote it on the benefits of a social media break, because I was going on a media break at the time. And I just found like over the course of those 2 months that I was away from social media, I like grew closer with my family, did a lot of cool stuff like that. So yeah, I think that, if you take a break, you'll find like there's a lot of therapeutic stuff that you can do with family members, or just yourself.
All right, let's go to Genesis and then Thailand. This is good. Thank you for that question, Matt, and thank you for that insight.
Yeah, and definitely, Matt, I think that social media, there has to be a balance between the two. So that social media isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it's important that you have that bond between the parent, social media, know your limits, know when it's time to say, hey, let's stop, let's get together, let's rekindle the bond.
I also have to say, like taking a break from technology, some kids don't like to take a break from technology. I have my own experiences. I used to have all sorts of technology. I'm an only child, so I want everything. And so when I was younger, I had a Wii, and I used to play it. I used to be so close up to the TV. That's why I wear glasses now. And so my mom used to tell me to get off of it and take a break, and I used to rebel. And I used to, do all sort of things to try and get away from her because you try to discipline me. So I think some kids don't like, because they're so attached to technology. They want it. It's like a craving for them. They want it. So I think some kids don't want to get off of technology, and that's something that parents have to reassure to the kids, that technology isn't your world. You know, that's not what you need to revolve around. So that's another thing.
I really like what he's saying. He's saying be the parent. He's saying you're the parent. You got to know when too much is too much. As parents, we can become enablers, and we can enable them to not be able to see well. Take the TV and put it somewhere else, you know, but do not be enablers. I love it. I want to go back to, Mello, you had a statement you wanted to share? And then we'll go to Genesis. And then we'll come.
What you said about sizes of worlds, I've used that example before, and it's the size of your world isn't the same as the size of your child's world, but it means just as much to them as it does to you. So when I was growing up, I had, well, it wasn't even my car, it was in his name. But to me, that was my world because that was mine. It was something I had control over. But to him, he had the house, everything. His world was much bigger than mine, but I had the same passion and love for what I had. And to show the difference in scale, this whole earth is God's. But I have a house in it, and that house to me is everything. So it's just the difference in scale from then to now. But going back, a way to make that connection is to get into that world of theirs. And the way that he did that for me was he blew my mind in 5 minutes. I'm changing the oil on his car, but my car, and I couldn't get the filter off. I'm like, why can't I? I was getting frustrated, heated. I go inside, I need help. He comes out, this man puts tape around his fingers, puts it backwards so the sticky side is out, cleans the oil off the filter and just rips it right off. I'm like, how do you know that? But it was that moment that I'll never forget in my world that he jumped into, because he doesn't really care for cars like that. He knows I do, though, and for some reason, he knew this wizardry trick to get this filter off, and now that has impacted my life and helped because I have friends, and I showed that off at work. I work on aircraft now, and people at work are like, man, how did you get the grip strength to get that off? I'm like, man, you just got to know the right people, you feel me? So it really impacted me, and it still does today, because he jumped into my world, something that he doesn't like and is insignificant to his, but he saw how important it was to me, and he made an impact in my world in just 5 minutes. So
I got a question, because you asked a question earlier, and it was, why do children rebel? And I'm wondering if that's the reason why children rebel, when parents don't jump into their world. I'm sorry, that was just a question. I'm sorry.
I've been trying to bite my tongue because, Matt, you hit on something I've been preaching lately. You got to get into their worlds. You got to go in their room, in their messy room, exactly how it is. Don't go, this room is a mess. Just go sit down in it for a second. In order to lead somebody from where they are, you got to first understand where they are. You got to go sit in their slop for a second. Say, what's up? Don't preach Bible. Don't start lecturing. Just say, how are you? And I'm telling you, Miss Nadine and I get it all the time. How did you get our children to open up? We created space.
real quick, you said you have to catch the fish before you clean it.
Yes. Same, and this is nothing that I said. This is just repeating, hearing wisdom. You have to catch them. And parents are trying to clean them before they even caught them.
Yes, and a lot of the times the mess is lost in the message. Like, we're sitting here and we're trying to talk, or you're trying to talk at me and not to me. And that's one thing I realized coming up is, like, a lot of the times my parents were talking at me. Hello?
Your child will be friendly with you, but that doesn't mean they're friends. I want you to hear that. You are the parent. It's not your responsibility to be friends. But even my son and I have friendship in this understanding of I'm the parent. He understands that. There's no question. But he's not only friendly with me, there's love as well. Okay? There's not because I said so. So creating space is understanding where they are. Understanding where they are is getting wisdom from God on learning how to guide them out. Jesus said, I will not leave you comfortless. I got to go back to the Father, but I'm not going to leave you comfortless. The one I leave with you will show you and guide you into all truths. What kept my son from joining the gang was the voice he heard in his head of what we taught them by example. Not by what we said, but how we lived. Anybody else? This is too good. I'm trying not to. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and like as Tylen has mentioned before, and as I've mentioned, it all goes back to figuring out what interests the kids, what they like, what they dislike. Really sit down, interview them, not scold them, but really sit down and figure out what it is. Because as they grow older, their values change, their beliefs change, they go through different phases. So it's important to grow with your child and relearn them as they grow older.
Man, listen, this is so good. I'm feeling like we're going to have to do this again sometime in the future. And knowing my bishop the way I do, he's going to allow it. So you guys that are watching, respond in the comment sections below. Ask your questions. Somebody will get back to it. Hopefully that answered your question, Matt, and thank you for that insight. We have another audience participant. We definitely want to hear from you guys. Anybody that's out there, feel free to come on up. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kiera, and I'm 24 years old. One thing that Lexi mentioned and that a lot of people have been touching on is that in order to really have a relationship with your parents, the parent needs to know their child. The parent needs to at least take interest in getting to know their child. So my question to all of you is there anything from something that your parent has said or did that sticks out to you and lets you know that they're interested in who you are as a person? For example, one thing that my mom said to me years ago was, Kiera, I don't just love you, I like you. As in, I enjoy spending time with you. I enjoy knowing you as a person, even outside of you being my child. Years later, that still sticks with me and allows us to have a very open relationship. So again, the question is there anything from something your parent has said or done, something right that they have said or done, that you still draw back to and feel like, okay, they see me as someone valuable, not just their child, but someone they're interested in knowing?
Okay, so for my mom, she made us, so I was always like, Mom, we're gonna be best friends. Like, we're best friends. Like, I'm just gonna tell everybody we're best friends. And she's like, no, I'm your mom. And so she always made a point of being like, I'm your parent and I'm your mom first, but when you turn 18, we can be best friends. And so that's what she's told all of us, like growing up and stuff like that. She's like, we can be best friends as soon as you turn 18. And then the youngest ones, they just turned 18, like they're twins, and they just turned 18, and now we all gotta be like, Mom, we're all best friends. And like, it's something like that where it's just like having that boundary, like she's your mom first, but then as soon as like she's like, you guys are in adulthood now I can be friends, because it's like we've created this relationship and this like this love here while you were growing and stuff like that. Like, obviously she's still going to be parenting us, like we are still, like she's still our mom, but it changes the relationship. So that's always something that stuck out with me, because I'm like, I'm 22 and like I'm like, obviously I'm still learning, but like I still have her as mom, but I also can be like, yeah, we're friends too. So
Genesis?
Yes, and definitely. So for me, my dad has always affirmated to me that you're beautiful, you're pretty, don't let anyone tell you that any different. So I think giving those affirmations and reminding them of what they are and who they are can really go a long way. And I think that, like Lexi mentioned before, knowing their love languages, knowing them, knowing when to talk to them and when not to talk to them. So I think that's important too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Did that help? Yes, Tylen.
Like Lexi was saying, about the friend thing, I'm not 18 yet, but my mom's not my friend, but my mom always tells me things, you're handsome, every girl's gonna like Tylen, things like that. But my mom always, lifts me up. She always tells me things that make me feel good about myself, like, ooh, I look good,
Boy, you do. That's great, man. Parents got to be spiritual DJs. I'm a DJ. If you guys notice, what we've been doing is watching the floor. When they're not dancing, we need to change the music. And you have to be like that in your house. I have to balance what's happening in my house, and this is how we get children to open up. You have to let them know that what they have to say is important, not just you talking all the time. You know, you don't have to say a lot. In many cases, they already know what you're going to say. That's why they go to somebody else. And sometimes you got to come from a different direction. Don't always come the same direction, because they will go to somebody else to hear something else. We have another participant. We're bringing this down as they're coming, and this is too good. We may go a little over, but hang in there with us, okay?
Hello, my name is Imani and I am 23 years old. So this isn't necessarily a question, it's actually a comment based off of what Kimberly said earlier about scheduling. So as soon as she said that, I thought that that was so important, because I think oftentimes with parents and children, it's so easy to think that we're supposed to naturally have a relationship because of that label or title. And quite frankly, that's not the truth at all. It's basically just like a brand new relationship. God has given you this person, and you're starting from scratch. Just like the relationships we have with ourselves, we don't automatically know ourselves. We have to take time enough to study ourselves, figure out what you like and what you don't like, as many of you all have spoken to, and just really figuring out who is this person and how can I be in good, healthy relationship with them for the person that they are. So that was the comment that I wanted to make pertaining to scheduling. We have to make intentional time and effort to get to know this other individual. And then we call them mom, dad, son, or brother, and that is kind of like the glue that has brought us together. But the intentional effort and scheduling is everything. Yes.
That's good, man. If I could really clap, I would. But that was awesome, awesome, awesome. Another audience participant. Thank you so much for that, Imani.
Yes, my name is Chris Selby. I'm 19 years old, and it actually kind of piggybacks off of what Imani was saying. One of the biggest things that stood out to me, obviously we talked a lot about time, but attention within that time, and intention, as she mentioned. I think a lot of the generational issues that young people, like us as a whole, are struggling with, and then some of the issues that parents, where they're feeling like, oh, my kid is rebelling and everything like that. I think it stems from a lack of attention and validation. So if, as a child, I don't feel validated, I'm going to seek, as you alluded to, I'm going to seek that validation anywhere I can. And oftentimes that becomes detrimental to them in the long run. And so I think one of the keys there is making your child, intentionally making them feel like a priority. And so if as a child, you know, my parent sees me not just as a part of their life, but as their world. We talked about like the different worlds and the perspectives. If they can see me like that, if they can see that I'm a priority, then maybe we won't look for that validation in the wrong places. And so my question was simply just going to be, what are some ways, some practical ways that parents you think could be intentional in making young people feel like, making their children feel like they're a priority?
Tori, I'm just going to call you out real quick.
I was kind of coming from a different perspective on it, because a lot of the times we want our parents to make us feel like we're a priority, but do you make your parents feel like they're a priority? So it goes both ways, you know what I'm saying? If I'm sitting here and I'm trying to do stuff with you, and no, I don't, okay, well, that hurts my feelings too. And I want us to all be mindful that our parents have feelings.
Amen.
They have feelings, so we have to be mindful. If you're asking for something, then you need to reciprocate it.
Good.
So that's what I have to say about that. And that goes back to scheduling, scheduling or having time. Let me take you out. What do you like to do? Tell me what you like in communication. If you're able to communicate with me and tell me, hey, Mom, I like doing this. Like my daughter likes going to get her toes done. So we go get our toes done at the first of the month. We go, I let her sit. We sit down together and we get our toes done. And it's knowing what everybody has said, knowing what your kids like, knowing their love language, knowing what speaks to them. But sometimes you're going to have to do things that you don't like necessarily. It goes both streets.
Yes. I think like that if you just simply hug your child and stuff, that's all you got to do. I think like if you just hug them, like just let them know that you're there. You can, just say, I'm here for you. like I understand what you're going through, stuff like that. That'll help a lot. It won't make them feel alone.
I'll say, for me as a parent, one thing that I try to do is understand the temperature that's going on in that moment. I can walk in the house and just observe Jasmine, and I understand what temperature, and I know whether I can go talk to her or whether she's, she's reciprocating and she wants to talk to me. And here's what you got to understand too, and I'll say this: we don't have a handbook on how to be a parent. We're figuring it out. I always say my firstborn, he helped me to be the parent that I am today. And I tell his sister, you need to thank your brother every day.
Yes.
Because you got less spankings than he did. So, have some understanding that they don't know it all and they come from a background that might have been abusive or they were never taught how to. They're just doing what they were taught. So, one thing for me I learned really quickly at 16 was I understood my dad. He never said I loved you. I never heard it until I walked down the aisle. I was getting ready to walk down the aisle and he said it and I was like, this is not the time. I am about to get married, and here I go with these tears, So I understood him at 16. His background was it wasn't as nurturing so he didn't know how to show love. But I grasped it, and I didn't hold it against him. I figured it out, and I worked around it, and came from the backside to make that relationship work. So there is work that you have to put in as well by understanding your parents and where they came from.
When I was younger, my mom had 3 jobs, and every time, because when I was younger, she didn't have any time. So now that I'm older, she wants to make that bond. That bond is permanent, and it's what builds character in you. A parent helps develop a character in their kid, and that shows the parent what the kid is, and who they are, what they want to be in the future, and all that. And it's important to get to know them. It's important for you to get to know your parents, what their background is like. Like my mom, she had a difficult childhood. She grew up with 16 brothers and sisters. And she was one of the oldest. She got taken out of school and was told to find a job. So the way I see it, she raised me the way she wanted to see herself be raised. And it's important to know that fact, and it's good to know the bond.
Can I touch on one thing she said when she was like, we have to be open? I think for parents, one thing I would have appreciated coming up was transparency. Let me know what this looks like. Let me know what you've been through. Because once you open up that for me, I may not walk down that aisle. And I think a lot of the times parents want to shelter you because they don't want you to go through what they went through, but the apple does not fall far from the tree. And we tend to walk in generational curses. So I will say, so I think transparency and openness and knowing that your kid is not soft. There's another word I want to say, but I can't think of it. Knowing that, fragile, easily broken. You have to open that up. I think that's another thing that will help build the bond is transparency and openness and sharing with them what you've been through in your life.
Well, Mr. Chris Selby, thank you so much. Hey, all the audience out here, those of you that are tuning in, any final thoughts? Consistency and time, eh?
Consistency and time. For those of you who are about 23 and older, will remember the one time Pastor Dave had me preach.
And she killed it. Consistency and time. You must do it consistently, and over a period of time, the change will happen. Listen, I want to just say to you guys before we close out, we did talk about communication. There is a distinct difference between just talking to talk and talking fluff, or to talk about things that kids want to talk about. So communication is key, but what is the content of your communication? Are you daring to talk about the things that they want? Talk about pornography. Talk about sex. Talk about condoms. Talk about STDs. Talk about it. Are you afraid? If you don't, they're going to go somewhere else and get the information. So don't just communicate effectively. Communicate to see the change you want to see change. I love this. I'm so excited. I know we're going to have to do this again in the future. And the next unveiling, I can't wait for that to happen. That one is for the youth. This one's for the parents, rekindle the bond, but the next one is for the youth. And we're going to hear from parents, their perspectives and how they can grow closer with young people as well. Listen, this next segment that's coming up, I'm so excited. There's a song out now. Listen, if you think you don't want to be a person that's known as insane, then insanity means to do the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And if you want to see a change in that communication with you and your children, you got to change up some things. So we have a song that's coming out right now called Same Old Thing by KD3 featuring Canton Jones. And I just want you guys to put your hands together or get ready for Dorian Coney and Studio D. Check out this dance video by these guys. God bless y'all.
I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. Well, listen. Dearly beloved, we are gathered to do the exact thing that we did last week, sitting in the same seat playing with your phone. Church bills paid off of funerals alone. Everybody won't change, but they don't want to change. Instead of change, I guess they'd rather endure the pain. I can preach, teach till my face blue. If they ain't listening, they nothing I can really do. Why we keep falling for the same old thing? We keep falling for the same old thing. I don't know why we keep falling for the same old thing. We keep falling for the same old thing.
Hate to see you cry, never know why God chooses to do what he do with our lives. Wish it were a lie. Can't believe the news, mama just the other day said that he was through with the drama. Sitting in my office, teary-eyed on my shoulder, told me that he realized he was getting old. Had to keep it real with him, gave it to him straight. Sliding way back, don't forget about your faith. Used to talk to God, started flirting with the devil. Used to be a saint, started chasing after rebels. Hungry for the fame, streets know your name. First string for the trap house, starter in the game. 2 baby mamas, sex, money, liquor. YOLO how you did it, now you laid up in a coma. Everything's over, except for your mama trying to make it through another day, crying on the sofa.
I don't know why we keep falling for the same old thing. We keep falling for the same old thing. I don't know why we keep falling for the same old thing. We keep falling for the same old thing.
Wasn't that awesome? I know that was helpful to somebody out there, and our target audience is even one.
If this impacted your life and helped you in any way, or if you'd like to touch base with us or have any other questions or comments, please reach out to us today at jazzrockrecords.com. You can also reach out to our ministry leaders directly at truthrevealed.org.
We are servant leaders in this community, and we are here to serve you. Share this information with those you love, as I'm sure it will impact many for generations to come. Again, I'm Miss Barbette.
And I'm Minister Mike Williams with Truth Revealed International Ministries. May God bless you all.
Well, thank you for sharing in our worship experience. We pray you were blessed by the word as truth was revealed. Please share this word with friends, family, and loved ones. And remember to let God speak to your heart as He uses you to partner with us. Through your financial contributions, we can effectively communicate the love of Jesus to people around the world. There are still ways for you to support our ministry. Text TRIM GIVE to 77977. Follow the prompts, and you will receive a confirmation text thanking you for your support. Visit our website, truthrevealed.org, and click the Give Online button. You can also securely donate using the Truth Revealed mobile app. In addition to online and text to give, you can mail your contributions to 1550 Orange Blossom Trail, Northeast, Palm Bay, Florida, 32905. Until next time, stay connected by following us on your favorite social media platform and subscribing to the official Truth Reveal YouTube channel. Again, we thank you for your continued generosity and for investing your time and resources at Truth Revealed. God loves you, and so do we. Thank you for sharing.